Welcome to the next video in the series on sleep disorder breathing. I want to first mention a disclaimer that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, so I encourage you to consult a qualified medical professional and even do your own research. I encourage you to do that as well. Now, as I get started here, if it seems like you're jumping in midstream, it might be that you would benefit by going back and watching my previous videos in this series. So as far as the pros and cons of whether or not you want to spend the money on a polysomnography, I'll try to break it down. If you get a polysomnography, you are taking a risk that if you don't sleep enough that night when you're taking the test, that you'll get an inconclusive result. So if you're like Beth and you've already reached your deductible, yeah, that might be a risk that's worth taking because you do get more data from that test. But if you haven't reached your deductible and it's going to be a very expensive test, that's a significant risk that you're taking. And for me, I think I might have been nervous because I knew how much money I was spending on the test. And another thing is it's just unfamiliar surroundings you're trying to sleep in. You've got all these wires attached to you. So I didn't sleep very much. And going into the test, they don't tell you this, but going into the test, I was thinking that as long as I slept some, that it would be okay. They'd be able to analyze the part that I did sleep and give some sort of result. But that's not the way that sleep works. And here's why. They don't tell you this before you make your decision. But when you sleep, your REM cycles get longer and longer as you continue to sleep. So if you only sleep a little bit, like an hour or so, that whole night, then the REM cycles that you do have are going to be very short. And there's just not going to be enough information to go off of because they really need to see a decent amount of REM to have valid results for this test. So you might want to ask yourself, would I rather spend a whole bunch of money and take that risk? Or would it be better to spend a little bit of money and just keep your option open that if by chance the sleep specialist is actually going to feel like there's still something missing? A lot of times it seems like, and we'll talk about this as we move forward, that all they're really looking for is that AHI score. Your AHI may likely be all you need to know. And if it's not, well, then you could go from there. So you might be wondering, what happened next? Where did I go from there after I found out that I had inconclusive results? Well, it's interesting that even though my sleep dentist was very careful not to say anything before I had my polysomnography that would discourage me from taking a polysomnography, and very careful not to say anything that would encourage me to just take a take-home sleep test instead, that at this point, after I already had the polysomnography, he did say, you know what, in your case, it would probably be best if you just took a take-home sleep test. And I'll administer that. And so that's what happened. And I found out that it was very inexpensive. In fact, he rolled the price into the device once I got it. So it was essentially free. And he let me keep it for 2 nights. So just in case I didn't get good data the first night, that the second night would give good data. And so I got a conclusive result that I had an AHI of a 2, which means that I did not have sleep apnea. And there's an important point right here. Don't think that you'll be able to go out and get a sleep test done this way, because it's not allowed anymore to get a sleep test done this way. At that time, I think they were primarily using the withholding of information in order to keep this process convoluted and confusing. But now that people are learning more about this, you aren't allowed to do that anymore. So that very efficient, inexpensive way of just having the sleep dentist kind of oversee the process of doing this, it's not allowed to be done anymore. The sleep dentist is not allowed to administer a test that will result in a diagnosis of whether someone has sleep apnea or not. Now, they are allowed to administer a test for verification purposes to find out whether or not their device is working and to try to determine whether an adjustment on that device would be necessary. Now, this next part is really going to blow you away, and it has to do with Beth's polysomnography results. They came back and said that her AHI was 0. For Beth, we even took her to get a second opinion because, according to the book I read, the sleep specialist is supposedly supposed to dive into all this data that we paid thousands of dollars for. Beth's polysomnography results were very complete, unlike mine. She had all this good data that showed all kinds of awakenings. Now, the sleep specialist explained all her awakenings by saying that no one sleeps as well when they're having a polysomnography. So then we asked the question to the sleep specialist, with Beth having an AHI of 0, it's hard for us to decide, do you think, based on the results of the polysomnography, that a mandibular advancement device would help her? And he said, with an AHI of a 0, it's hard to say for sure. The only way to find out for sure is to have one made for her and see if it makes her feel better. And you know what? That's so funny because we could have done that without spending thousands of dollars on a test. So the point of this is that there's no reason to just assume that the sleep specialist is going to be interested in anything other than the AHI. And if you're expecting that the sleep specialist is going to dive into this data that you paid thousands of dollars for, you may have another thing coming. Now, maybe in some cases, a person gets their AHI score from a take-home sleep test, and the sleep specialist still thinks that there's something missing and that a polysomnography would provide an answer. Okay, fine. I can't think of what that would be, but I don't see any reason to presume anything other than start by finding out what your AHI is. A polysomnography may not be able to tell you this if you don't sleep long enough the night of your test. Your AHI may likely be all you need to know, and if it's not, well, then you could go from there. Now, this process of doing the best thing for your health in this matter has been so convoluted. Polysomnographies are so expensive that I think this scares a lot of people away from going down this road until way later in the game, so that the problem's not caught early on. To show you what I mean about how convoluted this all is, if you go to the www.aadsm.org website and you click on For Patients, that menu, and then you go down to Find an AADSM Dentist, you'll see on that page, this is where you would go in order to find a sleep dentist that would be able to help you and make an oral appliance for you. There's a disclaimer on that page that says dental sleep medicine is not recognized as a specialty area by the American Dental Association. So it comes across like the American Dental Association is requiring the American Academy of Dental Sleep Medicine to have this disclaimer here to discredit them, essentially. I actually emailed the ASDSM about this disclaimer, and I said that it appears from this disclaimer that the American Dental Association isn't really on board with what you're doing. So they responded and they said that their answer is confidential. So I'm not allowed to tell you what they said. So if you want to know, you're going to have to write them yourself. But that's typical. As soon as you get closer to an official accredited source of information, no one's allowed to say anything. No wonder things get so convoluted. But I started thinking, how can I express to you my reaction of what their response was without telling you what their response is? So the best thing I could come up with was a comparison, and I don't mean to make light of a serious problem, but it's the only way I could think to illustrate this. Violence is a serious problem. I'm not trying to make light of it. Please just go along with this hypothetical. Say in this hypothetical situation that I have a black eye and someone came to me and said, I notice you have a black eye, and they let me know that they were wondering if someone punched me. Now, if I responded by denying that I got my black eye that way and I offered an alternative explanation, then you would think, okay, I was wrong. He didn't get the black eye the way I thought. On the other hand, if I offered an answer that really didn't disclose anything or deny that I got the black eye the way that was proposed, then what do you think? You would probably think that I got the black eye just as you suspected, but I just don't want to say it outright because I'm embarrassed, right? So although I can't tell you what the answer was, I'm just going to say that to me, it didn't come across as if it was disclosing anything. So the problem with discrediting dental sleep medicine becomes apparent when you know what's involved with the services that they provide. And these are legit services. But if you're on that website and you see this because you're looking for a dentist that's going to provide these services for you, you're going to think, oh, this isn't approved by the American Dental Association. But what they do for you, these are legit services. The dentist gave me a test that he used to determine what the most appropriate setting for my mandibular advancement device was going to be as far as opening up my airways is concerned. He also stuck a wand in my mouth and made a digital model of my mouth so that a custom oral appliance could be made to fit my mouth comfortably. And the fact that this device is comfortable, that's so important, because if it's not comfortable, I'm not going to want to wear it. So it's a custom device and it's comfortable. So these are legit services. And even the American Dental Association contradicts this idea of trying to discredit sleep medicine. In the October 31st, 2017, American Dental Association news on ada.org, you can find an article entitled Sleep-Related Breathing Disorder Treatment Outlined in New Policy. And it says this: dentists are the only healthcare provider with the knowledge and expertise to provide oral appliance therapy, according to the resolution 17H 2017 passed by the American Dental Association House of Delegates at American Dental Association 2017 America's Dental Meeting. So that seems pretty clear that this is legit services that only dentists are qualified to be able to provide. So to sum it up, it really shouldn't be that complicated to catch these sleep disorder breathing problems before they become big and to stop them from progressing. So in summary, step 1, make sure that you can breathe through your nose. So an ear, nose, and throat doctor will be able to help you out, let you know whether you have a problem here. And if you do have a problem, then he'll be able to set you up with a septoplasty to correct this so that you can breathe through your nose. So a qualified ear, nose, and throat doctor can help you with that. Now, a quick test that you can do is just to leave your mouth closed for a while and just notice whether you have the urge to open your mouth as if you're not able to breathe with your mouth closed. So that's a quick test that you can do to try to determine whether you can breathe through your nose or not. Step 2, find out what your AHI is. And to do this, you'll have to take a sleep test. So you'll probably have to ask your primary care physician to order you a sleep test from a sleep lab. Now, as long as the test tells you what your AHI is, that may very well be all you need. And remember that if you do choose to take a polysomnography, there is a significant chance that you won't be able to determine what your AHI is, because you might not sleep enough the night of your test for that test to actually come to that conclusion. So a take-home test has less problems in this regard, since you can sleep better because you're in comfortable surroundings. Now, step 3, go to the www.aadsm.org website, click on the For Patients menu, and select Find an AADSM Dentist in order to find a qualified dentist to make an oral appliance for you, and then laugh at the ridiculous disclaimer while you're on that page. Once you have your test results from your sleep study, then your dentist will be able to help you from there. I hope you found this video informative. Please give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in health and wellness content, please subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think in the comments. Any of the above would really help us out, and I appreciate it, and I'll see you in our next video.